It's back. The Edmonton Oilers season starts tonight. We have everything you need to know heading into the season opener against the Vancouver Canucks tonight. All that and much more on today's episode of Locked On Oilers.
You're Locked On Oilers, your daily podcast on the Edmonton Oilers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On Oilers podcast. I am your host and former Oilers game day producer, Brett Holden. As mentioned today, the season officially starts for the Edmonton Oilers tonight. Puck drop at 8 o'clock against the Vancouver Canucks. A lot to talk about. Some interesting lineup notes. The Edmonton Oilers could be playing with an interesting lineup tonight. We will talk about that in just a second. Also on today's episode, where does Philip Broberg sit in the Edmonton Oilers depth chart at his position? We will talk about that, plus what the other side looks like, the Vancouver Canucks for tonight. What are some of their lines? What can the Edmonton Oilers expect heading into tonight's game? All that and so much more on today's episode of Locked On Oilers. Thank you so much for making Locked On Oilers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you find your podcasts. It feels good, don't it? The NHL season is finally back. We had 2 games last night, the Rangers and the Bolts, and we had the Kings and the Golden Knights. Both games were fantastic. What a game in Los Angeles as well between the Kings and the Golden Knights. But we have a game of our own tonight in Edmonton against the Vancouver Canucks, a team that the Edmonton Oilers have seemingly played almost every game so far since the preseason started. But either way, it's for real tonight. Some news to get to today, as Devon has been recalled by the Edmonton Oilers, and Philip Broberg has been sent down to Bakersfield. So the lines today at practice with the with Broberg not in the lineup and with Shore up with the big team. The lineup looked like this: Evander Kane obviously skating alongside Connor McDavid and Jesse Puljujärvi. Dylan Holloway, Leon Draisaitl, and Zach Hyman is your second line. Ryan McLeod, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Warren Foegele on the third line. We'll get back to that third line in just a second, because there seems to be a little bit of intrigue on that third line tonight. Also skating on the fourth line tonight, Brad Malone, Devon and Derek Ryan. On the back end, it is Darnell Nurse with Cody Ceci, Brett Kulak with Tyson Barrie, and Ryan Murray skating alongside Evan Bouchard. Starting in goal for the Edmonton Oilers tonight, making his Edmonton Oilers regular season debut, Jack Campbell. Welcome, Soup, there. Let's go to that third line. Let's start off with that third line, as it sounds like, as you probably heard or noticed, I didn't mention Kailer Yamamoto. Kailer Yamamoto is expected to be out tonight. Jay Woodcroft did say he's a game time decision, but he didn't skate with a line, really. He was an extra skater, and things don't, I'm not going to say don't sound good. That gives it a very negative connotation, but it doesn't sound like he will play tonight. However, as mentioned on that third line, Warren Foegele may not be in the lineup for the Edmonton Oilers tonight. As mentioned, the exact same with Kailer Yamamoto. He is also a game time decision, but as mentioned, this causes a little bit of intrigue for the Edmonton Oilers. Yesterday, we mentioned that if Warren Foegele is not ready to go, or Yamamoto, that the Oilers might go with an 11-7 lineup. That was reported from Daniel Nugent-Bowman. However, it may have been either a misspell or whatever it may have been, but Kenny Holland and the Edmonton Oilers have said that they might go with an 11-6 lineup tonight, meaning that the Edmonton Oilers would be playing a player short. for tonight's game. So now what happens to the lineup? It is expected that if Foegele is not ready to go, Derek Ryan will step up to the third line, and Brad Malone and Devon Shore will kind of be the wingers of either Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Ryan McLeod, really, between all of them. And that's the beauty of the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, I mentioned Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Ryan McLeod are all centers. So if the Edmonton Oilers do go with 11 forwards, whether that's an 11-6 again in the future or an 11-7, which they have known to do and probably will do again in the future as well, they have options up the middle. Also, Dylan Holloway is also a centerman, or a natural centerman, I should say. Brad Malone also has played center. Devon Shore, Derek Ryan, all those players are also centers or can play up the middle. That gives the Edmonton Oilers a massive luxury in when they do have players like a Warren Foegele, like a Kailer Yamamoto out. They can cover themselves there. Now, also to mention as well, an interesting note to mention, Brad Malone is making his first ever season opening debut. So this will be his first time on an NHL roster in a pretty long career. He's been in the NHL, or at least up as a pro, for a pretty long time. It will be the first time he was making an opening night roster, and he was asked about it today, and he just said, I can't get too excited about it because that means the excitement will get ahead of me doing my job, will get in the way of me doing my job. I love that mentality from Brad Malone. There, very, very interesting note for the Edmonton Oilers and Brad Malone. Congratulations to him. But that also speaks to the Edmonton Oilers' depth as well, and the impact that Brad Malone has had with the Edmonton Oilers, not only on the ice, but in the locker room as well. I remember last season, some guys like Connor McDavid even was talking about having Brad Malone and the veteran presence of Brad Malone in the room, and it was something that all the Edmonton Oilers and Jay Woodcroft have really welcomed for the Edmonton Oilers. Brad Malone, again, just a big factor for a bottom six guy, very important on and off the ice there. Now, the other thing to mention as well, on the third pairing for the Edmonton Oilers, Ryan Murray and Evan Bouchard. Now, Evan Bouchard playing on the third pairing. The interesting thing to watch for tonight will be how much 5-on-5 time Evan Bouchard will get, and really just how much 5-on-5 time Evan Bouchard will get outside of playing with Ryan Murray, if that is a thing. Now, we've gone into this season. We have mentioned that it seemed like Marcus Niemelainen may have been getting called up. Brad Malone stayed with the team instead of going down with Philip Broberg. We'll see if that sticks for game 2. But if not, how often will Bouchard be playing with Murray? Will Barrie then play with Murray? Will Niemelainen come in and play with Bouchard or Barrie? Where does everybody fit? We shall see. But the other thing is, you want to talk about fits. Where does Philip Broberg fit in all of this? Because now he's been sent down. Seems like Marcus Niemelainen will be called up, and we have heard nothing but positive reviews around Ryan Murray. So where does Broberg fit? We will talk about that in just a second, but first I want to tell you about our partners over at SimpliSafe. The numbers don't lie. In the last decade, over 4 million people have chosen SimpliSafe home security to protect their home. You don't earn the trust of that many people without doing something right. At SimpliSafe, your safety is the only thing that matters. I know because I use SimpliSafe at my own home. They protect you with cutting-edge security technology powered by 24/7 professional monitoring agents who always have your back. With 24/7 professional monitoring, SimpliSafe's agents call you the moment a threat is detected and dispatch police or first responders in case of an emergency, even if you're not home or you can't be reached. SimpliSafe blankets your home in protection with advanced sensors in every room, window, and door, HD security cameras for inside and outside your home, smarter ways to detect motion that only alert you when a threat is real, and even hazard sensors that instantly detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. Our monitoring experts use proprietary advanced response technology to visually confirm when break-ins are real so you can have the highest priority police dispatch. Customize the perfect system for your home in just a few minutes at simplisafe.com/lockedonnhl. Save 20% on your SimpliSafe security system when you sign up for an interactive monitoring plan and get your first month free. Visit simplisafe.com/lockedonnhl to learn more. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. Alrighty, let's move back to the back end for the Edmonton Oilers. And as mentioned, Ryan Murray playing on the third pairing for the Edmonton Oilers tonight, skating alongside Evan Bouchard for the Edmonton Oilers. And as mentioned, Philip Broberg sent down to Bakersfield for the Edmonton Oilers tonight as they also recall Devon Shore. Now, Markus Niemelainen didn't get the call up for the Edmonton Oilers here. And it sounds like that is because they aren't sure about Warren Foegele's status for tonight's game against the Vancouver Canucks. And if he does play, then the Oilers will have a full lineup. But if he doesn't play, then the Edmonton Oilers are going to be down a forward and down a player in general. So Brad Malone stays with the team, and that means they cannot recall Markus Niemelainen. The Edmonton Oilers could be playing a player down, but this means that Ryan Murray is the top choice for the Markus Niemelainen is the second choice for the Edmonton Oilers. Philip Broberg is the third choice for the Edmonton Oilers. Is that where Philip Broberg sits in the organization right now? And it may seem I'm almost running a Philip Broberg smear campaign. I'm not at all. And really, I just want to know where Philip Broberg sits in the Oilers' organizational depth. Because again, the Edmonton Oilers are going to be a player short tonight against the Vancouver Canucks if Warren Foegele does. The Edmonton Oilers couldn't recall a defenseman, but they could send one down, and it was Philip Broberg. And if the Edmonton Oilers are to call up a defenseman this season, Markus Niemelainen will be most likely the first name called. At the bare minimum, I think it's very safe to say that Philip Broberg isn't going to be the first name. That's probably the better way of putting it, is the first defenseman being called this year is recalled this year is not going to be Philip Broberg. So why? What does he have to work on? Well, obviously, the big thing for Philip Broberg is he did gain, I believe it was 12 pounds, or maybe it was up to 25. I don't have it written down, but he gained a lot of muscle this year for the Edmonton Oilers. Now, for a player that is a lot of muscle to now try and figure out, how can my body keep up? How can I keep up with this? And what does this mean for my game? Philip Broberg has always made his money or his game on moving the puck, his skating. Well, he hasn't been doing that at all in the preseason, or didn't do that at all in the preseason. Now you see Philip Broberg get sent down and everybody say he's just not ready. Well, is that because last year it seemed like he was ready, but now all of a sudden he comes into camp and he's being outworked by a guy who's 26? Supposed to be Broberg's year, and now he's going down for another year in Bakersfield. Yes, I see a lot of people commenting that, yes, he just needs to catch up with his body, essentially. And I agree. I think that is what it is. What if it's not? Do we have to start ringing alarm bells here? Because there are now the conversations of the Edmonton Oilers are going to be making a big move at some point, if not numerous big moves throughout the season. Whether that's John Klingberg, whether that's Jacob Chychrun, whether that's Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews, whatever that may be, there's going to have to be a prospect of some sort added in that. I know a lot of people don't. I am in that boat. But when do we start getting out of that boat and saying, maybe we should just let this sail? Again, I'm not trying to run a smear campaign on Philip Broberg at all, because as much as I wanted Cole Caulfield in that draft, Philip Broberg was a perfect pick for the Edmonton Oilers. Just have not quite yet gotten to that labor yet. I'm really concerned that we might not anytime soon, if at all. It will really depend on how much he can fit into his body and how much his foot speed as well will also get into that body. Because realistically, against the Vancouver Canucks, Nils Höglander scored a goal by overpowering Philip Broberg, a guy who just gained a ton of muscle in the offseason. You're supposed to be stronger than Nils Höglander, who is a small right winger. But he got outmanned, overpowered. That is not what an NHL defense. That is not an easy fix. It can't, and not always that. The Edmonton Oilers have a lot of defensemen in the organization as well. We saw one just get traded just last week because there is such a logjam for the Edmonton Oilers. What do we do about Broberg? I'm probably overreacting here. Obviously, you want to see the development of a hockey player. But for a hockey player that was supposed to be in the lineup this year, playing his first full season, and is relatively and obviously behind the 8 ball here in his development, maybe rings a little here. But again, either way, probably overreacting. You let me know in the comments if I am overreacting here, or if I'm right on. Most of the time, everybody will let me know that I'm not right on. But either way, let me know. I'd love to know, because I like a little reality check everyone. I get those all the time. Let's move on to the other side of tonight's game. The Vancouver Canucks are in town to play against the Edmonton Oilers in Rogers Place. What are their lines looking like? What could the team that so many people had as their sleeper look like tonight? I'm not gonna lie, it's not very impressive. But just before we get there, I just want to thank you for making Locked On Oilers your first listen today. Now for your second listen, make sure you tune in to Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Steele Roden and Flip Livingstone bring you the fantasy edge and keep you ahead of the competition with daily updates of news, analysis, and advice Monday through Friday. Available on YouTube, Audacity, and wherever you find your podcast. I was on Locked On Fantasy Hockey over the preseason, taking a look at the Edmonton Oilers this year. By the way, Flip and Steele, those are two class acts. I love those guys. Great guys over there. But the Edmonton Oilers are going to have a massive fantasy impact this year. Excited to see what they bring there. Alrighty, let's take a look at the other side of tonight's game, the Vancouver Canucks, as They had their lines, their skating lines tonight. And it's not very impressive. Oliver Ekman-Larsson out of the lineup for the Vancouver Canucks tonight. The lines for the Vancouver Canucks at morning skate. Tanner Pearson skating alongside JT Miller and Brock Besser. Andrei Kuzmenko skating alongside Elias Pettersson and Nils Hoglander. That is the line to watch for the Vancouver Canucks tonight. The Edmonton Oilers were heavily into Andrei Kuzmenko. Did decide to go to Vancouver. I think is the right decision, but either way, the line to watch tonight for Vancouver. Vasily Podkolzin on the third line alongside Bo Horvat and Connor Garland. And the fourth line consists of Joshua Amon and Curtis Lazar. Another player, that the Edmonton Oilers were looking at this past offseason. Seems like the Edmonton Oilers only wanted to give him a 2-year deal, and that made. But the defensive core, I won't lie, that a forward core looks great for the Vancouver Canucks, and that's without Ilya Mikheyev, who's probably going to be out for the season with a suspected torn ACL. You imagine if he was in that lineup. That is a very good lineup there. But on the back end, not so much. Both OEL and Tyler Myers are out for the Vancouver Canucks tonight as Quinn Hughes lines up next to Luke Schenn. Jack Rathbone is alongside Tucker Poolman and Riley Stillman, the newly acquired Riley Stillman, skating alongside Burrows on that third pairing. Thatcher Demko gets the start in the crease for the Vancouver Canucks. Now, as mentioned, Quinn Hughes playing with Luke Schenn tonight. That is going to be a pairing that the Edmonton Oilers are really going to try and take advantage of tonight, as I can't believe Luke Schenn is still in the league. He has had a couple of pretty respectable seasons over the last couple of years, most recent years, I should say, but first pairing on a team that was supposed to be, again, as mentioned, a sleeper this year. You're not going to be a sleeper and a contender if you have Luke Schenn on your top pairing. I understand there's injuries here. Yes, you won't have probably a Stillman or a Burrows in the lineup if you do have both Tyler Myers and Oliver Ekman-Larsson in the lineup. Does it then get better? I don't know. Yes, that's an entire pairing. But do you get better? Then you have Quinn Hughes skating alongside Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Rathbone most likely skating alongside Myers, which is pretty decent there. Then you have to take your pick, probably Tucker Poolman and Luke Schenn, or you did just acquire Riley Stillman there. Keep him in the lineup if he's showing you something. But that is going to be a point of emphasis for the Edmonton Oilers. And the big reason why is because a lot of people have Thatcher Demko, A, as the best goaltender in the Pacific, but B, a potential top 5 goaltender in the league. Leon Draisaitl and Evander Kane were asked today about the potential of playing Thatcher Demko and what exactly makes Thatcher Demko a tough goaltender to play against. And both of them said that he's a big goaltender who can move. Both of them said that. It was almost like it was their scripted thing for the day. But if you are going to sit on Thatcher Demko and hope that he can keep you in a game with that defense, Vancouver may lose more games than a lot of people really expect. And I think a team like the Edmonton Oilers with Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Evander Kane, Jesse Puljujarvi, Zach Hyman, Dylan Holloway, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Ryan McLeod, need I go on, is really going to take advantage of that. And that's just the Edmonton Oilers. This is a division that also has Jonathan Huberdeau, Nazem Kadri, Phil Kessel, Jack Eichel, Trevor Zegras, Andrei Kopitar. Yes, I mean, Vancouver has players of their own in Tanner Pearson. I mean, look, their top 6 is really good in Tanner Pearson, JT Miller, Brock Besser, Andrei Kuzmenko, Elias Pettersson, and Nils Hoglander. Kuzmenko's never played in the NHL, though. Kuzmenko's second full season, I should say. Elias Pettersson coming off of an riddled season. Brock Besser coming off an injury-riddled season. JT Miller has seemingly been in trade talks ever since he was traded to the Vancouver Canucks. Tanner Pearson is really the most stable player there in that top six. Then you have guys like Vasily Podkolzin, who is 10th overall in his draft year. Fantastic hockey player. He was one of my favorite picks in his draft year as well. But he's on the third line, skating next to Bo Horvat and Connor Garland, who I think genuinely that might be your best line. That's the first line here that has had any sort of consistency for the Vancouver Canucks. But is that enough? You had Ilya Mikheyev. Keyword is had. For a team that so many people had as their sleeper, not a good start to the season for the Vancouver Canucks. But that's just on paper. Maybe they don't. It all matters tonight as the Edmonton Oilers start off their season against the shaky Vancouver Canucks. 8 p.m. puck drop tonight here at Rogers Place is going to be a special night. I can't wait. We will have an entire breakdown tomorrow of what we saw and the look ahead and what it all means for the season coming up. That'll be tomorrow. We got to get through the game tonight. Thatcher Demko versus Jack Campbell in the crease. What a day. We have regular season hockey to talk about. We shall call it there. I hope you stay safe. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. I hope you had a wonderful day and play La Bamba, baby.